Because remember, he was doing a lot of shows with Nas, and Nas was doing ether all over the place.
Right.
So you got to remember when they did New York too. You know what I'm saying? And Nas did the big performance in New York, and that's when Nas really killed them with the ether joint. You know, that was Sway on stage.
Did K Slay ever have a convo with you about his issues with Jay?
Um, you know what? I think it was a more respected than anything. Cause when I did the song Ride With Me and 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 that was the sample that we used with Rick James, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, that's when this boy he did Just Blaze did the song Kingdom Come, and he used that same sample. And you know, Slade was already playing my record for like 6 months on Shade 45, Hot 97. You know, he was playing that shit like faithfully. And that joint was doing numbers. And then Jay came out with Kingdom Come. Of course, my record gonna get lost. You know, ain't no competing. You know what I mean? I'm just coming out. You know, no way in the world I'm gonna compete with a giant like that. And you know, you ask some of the people like, yo, that's your song, come at them. I'm not coming at somebody y'all look up to. You crazy? That's the stupidest thing to do. And Slade knew I wasn't gonna do that. Slade was upset. Slade was like, yo, he know I've been playing your record all this time. So I don't care if Just Blaze did the beat. He know this record was out there. Our record inspired that shit. You feel me? And yeah, he had a big record with Kingdom Come, but he was like, look, we just gotta play it smart. You know what I mean? And we can either try and go to court, be legal, or let them know, you know, who, you know, that we did this and we did that, and we probably can get points, whatever. And then that's when Just Blaze did his little thing at the time it was MySpace. That's how far we going back. And Just Blaze put a thing on MySpace. Oh, which song you like better? My big bro, Jay, or this dude, this clown nigga that had this song, boom, boom, boom. At this time, I'm just coming into the game. And I'm like, yo, Slay, this motherfucker just put a post up about me and shit. And at the time, Slay was like, oh, that's a good thing, though. You feel me? And I'm like, nah, fuck that. I gotta see this nigga. And at that time, Slay was like, you gotta calm down, nigga. Stop stepping at everybody. But I'm like in defense mode all the time. So that's when I say the story of when I ran into Just Blaze and I put my arm around him. I said, yo, you better take that shit down, nigga. I don't know you. You ain't gonna be talking about crazy with me. And we was about to fuck this nigga up. And he was like, nah, yo, I fuck with you. Boom, boom, boom. The whole story changed. And nigga still owe me a beat too.
Right.
Because of that. And then I was like, look, I ain't say nothing. That was my song. As soon as I heard y'all did it, I'm not trying to come at Jay or nothing. Shit, how can I come at somebody I look up to? You know what I mean? Plus, Jay is up here. I'm just coming into the game. I'm trying to get love from. I'm a student of the game. I'm never gonna do that. You feel me? And then he was like, nah, that was my bad. I'm gonna take it down. Boom, boom, boom. And he took it down and everything, but it was like it did what it did. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. I got different takes on the shit. You feel me with that whole thing? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
I had interviewed recently the Bad Seed, and he was on that song, Slay song, Through Your Head, and he rapped, I skipped Jay at the Garden and hit Slay session. And he said the reason was he was supposed to go see Jay at Madison Square Garden during the Fade to Black
right.
performance thing, right? And Slay was like, nah, I need you to come to the studio to record. And so he played off that and wrote that bar. And he said when he rapped that, Slay went crazy, and he was saying that Slay didn't really like Jay at that time because there was tension over the fact that I think Slay was supporting Nas a lot during the
Yeah, the
Jay
whole
versus
Nas beef.
Nas.
The
Yeah,
Nas beef, because remember he was doing a lot of shows with Nas, and Nas was doing ether all over the place.
right.
So you got to remember when they did New York too. You know what I'm saying? And Nas did the big performance in New York, and that's when Nas really killed them with the ether joint. You know, that was Sway on stage. You feel me? That did the whole shit, and that's when he brought out Jadakiss and Ludacris and all that shit. And that was at the time Jay was with him. So you gotta remember that history is deep. And I understood at the time what it was. You feel me? But he never tried to put me in harm's way with that because he always said, if a situation presents itself, we starting to get on good terms. At that time, he was just starting to get on good terms with Jay's people and you know what I mean? So he was trying to,
Wait,
lead
was
me in
this
the right
around the time
direction.
that he went to Baseline Studios with Cameron?
Nah, this was that was later on. That was Mars was more later on.
Oh,
This
got you.
they was already, he was already speaking to people from his camp and shit like that. And he didn't want me to get involved in none of that shit because, he was really learning from his mistakes with Pat. You feel me? And he wanted to take a whole different approach with me.
Yeah.
And he saw that a lot of people was fucking with me at the time. You know what I mean? And at the time, I was dealing with, Lenny S and them. They was fucking with me heavy. You know what I mean? I did the Lenny S show when he had the show in Manhattan and shit. I did that and all that. You feel me? So, I was popping at the time. So, he was playing his cards right. And it was nothing never crazy said on his part at all. He told me they had their shit, but he said everything was good at that time. You know what I mean? And it was always a respecting from there on. And he said he really just got put in the mix because of the whole history behind that whole shit. And that was always the thing with him. You know what I mean? And he was always trying to give me advice because the way I came in the game with my fellas was always we was very aggressive. You feel me? I was aggressive, and he was like, Lou, you ain't got nothing to prove, nigga. You trying to fucking beat everybody up. You know what I'm saying? They jump in my face, but it felt like I was always defending my name. You know what I'm saying? Because it felt like I was from Camden, and they was trying to test, and I wanted to make sure that they knew ain't nothing fake over here. You feel me? Ain't nothing fake. We come from something real. But then when they started seeing that, yeah, this nigga ain't about playing or nothing, they started recognizing, you know what I mean? And which was a good thing, but it made me also calm down and learn that you gotta go in there with a business mind because they're not trying to deal with motherfuckers that's hard headed either and bring all that street shit up there. You know what I mean? That's when I started learning different ways. You know what I mean? So, it was definitely a learning experience too, from the whole Sway thing having his dealings with Jay and with other people. You know what I mean? Because you gotta remember Sway was smacking DJs around too. So the mixture was just crazy.
But do you
The
believe
mixture.
what Cam said that when he brought K Slay to Baseline Studios once and Jay was mad and told Cameron later, like, you got to be careful who you bringing in here? What would have happened if I slapped the shit out of Slay?
Who said that?
Cam brought K Slay to Baseline Studios and
Right.
Jay was mad and told Cameron later when Slay wasn't there, you got to be careful who you bringing in here. What would have happened if I slapped the shit out of Slay? That's what Cam said, though. I don't know if it's
The reason I would say that that's true was because at the time Jay, you see Jay like that, but Jay won't play. You feel me? Anybody that know Jay didn't play games, and Jay is a street nigga too. You feel me? That's what people forget. Jay was about that life.
he just plays it so cool all the time. That's why
Yeah,
people like take it for granted.
right. At the time, Slade come from the street, but wasn't more, I'll say wasn't more inserted into the streets like Jay was. You feel what I'm saying? And it wasn't more like, just put it like that. I believe it in different ways. You know what I'm saying? That Jay probably would have did that shit. You know what I mean? And it would have, was Slay stood hit? I don't think Slay would have stood hit though.
Right.
But it would have been a problem. You know what I'm saying? I think it would have been definitely a problem. But Jay ain't no chump either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.